to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10, 10 seasons of empowering you, the entrepreneur, 10 seasons of championing your cause. I'm Sunanda Seelan. Tonight on the show, a very special conversation with the Indian ambassador to the UAE in the backdrop of the India-UAE FTA. Also, we're talking the top trends which have disrupted the diagnostic space in a conversation with SRL Diagnostics. First up, I'm bringing you a very special conversation in the backdrop of the big announcement that we've heard between the UAE and India as far as the FTA is concerned. My colleague Davina Monroe on ground caught up with the Indian ambassador to the UAE, talking to him about India-UAE relationships and trade relations. We've also discussed with him events like the Expo 2020, one of the largest gatherings on a world platform taking place during the pandemic and the impact that it's had, as well as Gulf Food amongst others. Take a listen.
Hi Sunanda, I'm here at Gulf Food 2022 in Dubai, which of course is the region's largest exhibition and conference for players in the F&B industry. Naturally then, India is here in full force, showcasing its wide range of products at its pavilion. Now earlier we caught up with Sunjay Sudhir, the Indian ambassador in the UAE, who shared his insights on the state of UAE-India trade. Have a look. Hi, Mr. Sudhir. Thank you so much for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Mr. Sudhir, how would you describe the current state of the UAE-India economic ties?
Well, if you were to ask me for a one-word answer, I would say it's wonderful. But, with the UAE as compared to this whole region, the Middle East, the WANA region, the MENA region, or whatever name we might use for it, we have the strongest economic engagement with the UAE. Today, UAE is our third largest trading partner. It's our second largest export destination. And for the UAE, India is the second largest partner as well. So, mutually, we have very strong economic relationship with each other. And I would also like to share with you that in terms of energy supplies, oil and gas, again, we have a very strong relationship. For us, our major export to the to the UAE is petroleum products. We are the third largest crude export destination for the UAE. So it's a two-way thing. In oil and gas, we export to the UAE, you export to us. So they are the third largest source of our imports of crude, the second largest source of imports for our LNG, as well as second largest source of imports for LPG. So there's a lot of trade we are doing with each other. Pre-COVID time, it was about $60 billion. And then there was a little dip because of COVID. But now again for this year, 21-22, we are very confident that we'll surpass the previous figure of $60 billion.
And how do you think India is helping the UAE enhance its food security?
Well, food security is a very important thing for any country, particularly for a country like the UAE, which does not have a very developed agricultural sector. So historically, there has been a strong trade link between the UAE and India in terms of food exports. And we have been the major source of grains and rice and cereals and packaged foods and other things for a very long time.
Okay, how important do you think is the food sector to the overall trade relationship between the two countries?
Food constitutes a big chunk of our exports. So, for instance, rice, cereals, and all. You know that we have a leadership kind of a position in terms of some of the agricultural products like rice, cereals, millets, milk, eggs, and all. So we have been the largest supplier. If you look at it in aggregate terms, we have been one of the largest suppliers. The other thing also I would like to add is that UAE, by virtue of its locations, also by virtue of its strengths in logistics, has become some kind of a platform for us, for our agricultural sector, to export to the UAE for domestic consumption, at the same time to export to UAE for further re-exports to Africa, to Europe and other parts of the world.
How would you say India has supported the UAE during this COVID crisis?
I think COVID was a testing time for the whole world, and supply chains came under complete stress anywhere in the world. And for a country like the UAE, which is heavily dependent on imports of food products, India was the most reliable, most robust source of food imports.
How important is Gulf Food, would you say, as a platform for players from India's food industry to actually access new international business opportunities?
This platform where we are talking today, Gulf Food, is, I understand, the largest such platform in the world. And for us, it really helps because number one, we are familiar with it. Number two, it's very close to us. Number three, it provides us access not only to the UAE market, but to the rest of the world. Historically, India has been one of the largest participants in this Gulf Food.
What's your outlook for India-UAE trade in 2022, and what sectors and areas do you see the most potential for expanding cooperation?
So as I mentioned, one of the key drivers of our trade as far as the institutional arrangements is concerned is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the CEPA as we call it in short. So that is going to just open very new opportunity. So as I mentioned, UAE is already the third largest trade partner for us, the second largest export destination for us. So once CEPA comes into force, then I think this trade is going to grow further exponentially. New areas are going to get opened up. In fact, a whole analysis has been done on what could these new areas be. And accordingly, both countries have decided to reduce tariffs. And once tariffs get reduced, there are other things also which are happening. In the logistics sector, for instance, we are also working on seeing how seamlessly we can connect our traders, our importers and exporters on both sides, how we can do trade facilitation so that it becomes easier for our exporters to reach out to the UAE market and then beyond UAE market.
Mr. Sudhir, what role has Expo 2020 played in strengthening the relationship between India and the UAE?
Our participation in Dubai Expo has been really, really big. Happy to share that India is among the three countries which have got permanent pavilions. It's the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and India, and that's a big thing, which speaks not only about the strength of our relationship, but also about the prospects of our relationship. So we have a big, wonderful pavilion there. If you've not seen it, you must definitely go and see it. The footfall there is just about to cross 10 lakhs. So a few days back, it was about 950,000 footfall. Among all the pavilions in Dubai Expo, this is the most frequently visited one. And we are also using it to showcase our culture, our history, our future, also trade opportunities, investment opportunities. So far, we have had about 800 B2B, G2B kind of engagements. We have had visits from different states. In fact, in the last couple of months, we have had the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Chief Minister of Kerala, Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, who have visited us and done a big show. For the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, there were more than 5-6 MOUs signed with a total value of about 17,000 crore of investment. So I think there's a big things happening. We are also using Dubai Expo to promote our innovation in startups. So we have started an innovation hub. So in there, we get a lot of Indian startups, and we have started these Elevate sessions. So wherein our startups, get to pitch themselves with potential investors in the UAE. So that's been a great success. As you know, India, the Startup India initiative, which has been taken by the government, is doing well. And last year we had more than 40 unicorns. So in terms of unicorns, we are doing well. We are perhaps one of the best countries in the world. In numerical terms, the third largest number of unicorns are in India. And the startup, COVID might have caused a lot of damage to so many things in the world. But our innovations and entrepreneurship has not been dented by COVID. The kind of startups which have come up in the last couple of years have been huge. So for the startups also, Dubai Expo has been a good platform.
How would you describe the startup environment in the UAE for Indian players who actually want to start a business over here?
Yes, UAE itself doing a lot of work on startups, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and we feel that there's a lot of complementarity because startups. So there is consciousness on both sides about the importance of startups. There are also complementarities in which a lot of ideas which coming up with our young Indian generation, with our leading colleges and commercial places, and these ideas can find good venture capitalists here in a country like the UAE. So, taking advantage of this complementarity, I think we can work together, India and the UAE, in co-creation, in joint innovation.
Mr. Sudhir, that was very, very insightful. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Well, as you've heard from the Indian ambassador, there's still a wealth of untapped potential when it comes to food trade, and that's exactly what Indian and UAE companies are exploring here at Gulf Food. Sunanda, back to you.
I'm going to take a quick break. Back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here in Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, in the LOT hot seat is SRL Diagnostics. What has that initial period of growth been like for you?
Thank you, Sunanda. Thank you for having me on the show. So it's a pleasure to connect with you on this. So we talk about the journey in sense of SRL Diagnostics. SRL Diagnostics has been around for about 26 years now. It's one of the first corporate diagnostic companies in the country. It was started in 1995. So, and what we have seen is the various trends in the industry has been through, we have seen that happen in SRL as well. So whether it is the changes in technology, whether it is in the adopting new changes in digital, so the patient awareness, the patient behavior changes, all that we have gone through. So I joined SRL about 2 years back as CEO. So I have been in this industry for the last 25 years. So I have seen the growth of this industry as well over these many years. So from what we have seen as small mom and pop stores across the country, today we even have about 100,000 labs is what they say. But we've seen the industry slowly consolidate and organize itself. So today we have about 16% of the overall market being with the organized sector, which means that there's still a lot of scope for growth and there's a lot of scope for improvement in things. So that consolidation is continuously happening. The market size is also growing, and it's been a good learning and growing curve for everyone in this industry.
My second question to you, and let's dive right in and talk about some of the key trends that we are seeing as far as the diagnostic space is concerned and all the changes that we're seeing. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the role of digital technology when it comes to the diagnostic space. And I think the pandemic has really brought home why it is so important to have digital in the space of healthcare and pharma and wellness, and including, of course, the diagnostic space. So first and foremost, just give us a pre-pandemic and then a post-pandemic picture of how things have changed as far as digital technology and digital health awareness is concerned.
Right. That's a very, very important and relevant question that you've asked now. So as you know, this pandemic has really fast-tracked the digital transformation across various industries, especially any industry that has a customer contact. As you know, healthcare is all about contact. So especially in diagnostics also, we have seen that, this where we have to deliver services, but minimal contact has to be there.
Yeah.
Even though as a physical aspect, you need to collect blood, so you need to be in contact with the patient. So you employ a lot of methods to make sure that, the infection is not spread. But at the same time, being on the forefront as COVID warriors, diagnostics being the first line of defense, test, track, treat policies and all that came about. So it sort of put the industry in the forefront as a, frontline warrior for COVID. So what we saw there was that, the importance of having digital technologies, because the patients wanted to access you.
Yeah.
They can't come to the lab. They wanted to access you. They want to book tests. They want to know the reports over the web. And they want to make sure that they can track the phlebotomist who's coming home for the collection. So all these things had to happen digitally. So that digital transformation was happening in slow phases, pre-pandemic, but that has been fully fast-tracked during these last 24 months,
Sure.
where we saw more and more patients, searching online for tests, then, using apps, and we saw a higher uptake of, our app downloads, as well as people trying to book their tests through apps. And that is, I think, a very important aspect where we also found that, we need to, improve our patient experience as far as the digital journey is concerned, because that's something which was one of the avenues which we thought, and which is probably now going to be developing as a key avenues for, patient experience.
Okay, but when we think digital health, the flip side is also, and I'm asking this question because you were talking about app, for instance. What happens to someone who's not very tech savvy or digital savvy, or doesn't have a smartphone, who's based in a area which has poor connectivity, not just in tier 3 and tier 4, but also in urban India, or someone who's based in tier 3, tier 4 and doesn't have access to some of these modern tools? How do you bring those people then onto this digital bandwagon?
So I think that's a journey which is continuing, because you can't really be fully digital in healthcare.
Yeah.
So we have a combination of call centers and digital platforms like websites and apps through which we can service our patients. But our call center, probably in these last 24 months, we have expanded the number of people who are working there, as well as the number of calls that we get has increased a lot. It's not that people only access through digital, but we also get people who call us for home visits, call us for booking tests. And we have a network of centers across the country through which we are able to service these people. So it's not that, the entire thing is entirely on the digital platforms. We also have a combination of physical and digital. So it's more about improving the omni-channel experience for the patient, which happens through, adapting these new technologies.
The second big trend that I want to talk about in the field of diagnostics and also, healthcare to some extent, again, thanks to the pandemic, is at-home services, at-home care, at-home testing, at-home vaccinations. So much of it has, the medical and the healthcare industry has been forced to innovate and really come up with solutions as far as at-home services are concerned. Just talk to us about this trend. How did you perhaps prepare for that? How did you train your staff? What is the industry preparedness really of diagnostic chains and of the healthcare industry to be able to provide these at-home services?
So previously, the at-home services were more about convenience. It was more about providing this service for needy patients. So it's like somebody is disabled, somebody is physically challenged, or somebody has is recuperating from an illness. Or if it's a senior citizen, then there is a requirement for a home service. That's how it was more need-based. I think during the pandemic, what we found was it was not just need-based, but it's more like it's become a requirement. People don't want to travel out of their houses and they want to get their tests done at home. So it's not just about tests, it's about services like, you want to have some nursing services, you wanted to take care of some patients. So there are oncology patients, patients who are transplant, post-transplant patients who could not be exposed, who could not travel outside. So there were a lot of healthcare related services that were moving home. And, all companies, all hospital chains, as well as large laboratories adapted to this change, by having their own teams who can manage this. If you take SRL Diagnostics, for example, we had only about 300 phlebotomists who were doing home service, pre-pandemic. So, but then post-pandemic, what we found was this number almost went 3 times more. So we had to hire that many more people. We had to train more people to do these services. We even had to enroll some of our other staff who are doing lab work, who are trained to do this, but they don't normally do it. So we had to use them as well to roll out these services, because the demand was going very high, and there were days when one person was forced to do close to 40 to 50 collections, because that was during the second wave, and all the challenges were quite bad. So that I feel is that how home collections and home services have moved, and to some extent it will continue to stay, because people once they've experienced these services at home, so there is a chance that it will continue, especially for convenience as well as for safety and requirements like that.
Speaking then of at-home services, as the big trend that you expect will continue even in this post-pandemic era, what are the big opportunities that you see will perhaps stay, and what are the big opportunities in this space that you want to flag off for our entrepreneurs to say, for at-home services, you can perhaps look at this?
Right. So at-home services is not just about collecting samples, but also doing tests. So what we have seen is, in the last, especially during the third wave, we found a lot of patients adopting at-home testing for COVID. So the COVID rapid antigen tests were being used, and many people started doing their tests at home. So earlier, if you have seen at-home testing has been mainly for glucose. For diabetic patients, they used to do their glucose on their own at home. So I think more and more tests like this will become at home, which will actually create a new market that, entrepreneurs who want to make it in the healthcare and diagnostics field can look at as an opportunity where, they can develop products and services that can be at home. So that would be a very key factor for growth, because, point of care as well as at home services for laboratory is going to be one of the leading future trends that I see.
Completely out of time on tonight's episode. Our details on your screens as we speak, including that WhatsApp number where you can just send us a quick message and we'll get in touch with you. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.